T.
N.
O.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another show of tea. Oh, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for episode 5 recap of Survivor Winners at War season 40. Corvus, you want to give them a little bit of an explanation in terms of what happens here?
Okay, so our regular format is we award a golden spear to the best player of that episode. Then shortly after that, we do our wooden spoon section, which goes to the village idiot or the island idiot, person who made the stupidest move on the island. I know it's a bit harder this season. But in any case, after awarding the wooden spoon, we jump into a Storm's Brewing section. We speculate a bit about what is to come, what's going to happen next, and what we would have done if we were on the island, or when we are going to be on the island. So, yeah, with that in mind, Golden Spear nominations. Claudio, do you have anyone that jumps out except Wendell here, who said he was kicking it, or they kicked it, although it seemed like Wendell did most of the kicking in this episode. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's an interesting point to start off with, because the Michelle Wendell kicking it scenario. I do think that the numbers were, but not in Michelle's favor. But at the same time, she's got a mean ally in terms of poverty here. So it's quite interesting to see. So Wendell thinks he's on top, but I don't think. I think between the two of them, Michelle's probably going to outlast him. But let's not go there. My first candidate for the Golden Spear is, and I spoke about it last week, and I'm going to just throw her name back out here immediately, is Kim Spradburn. I mean, what an animal. Like I said, absolute challenge beast. She knows how to get herself in a good situation. With the swap was a blessing to her. She's found herself in a situation where the numbers are in her favor, but at the same time, she doesn't like her old teammates. So she's that perfect swing vote between Jeremy, Denise, Sandra, as well as Tony. So I think it's all in her favor. I think the game at this moment is perfectly poised for her to take advantage of.
100% spot on. I agree with you with Kim, Claudio. And not only did she kill it in the challenge, but she also killed an eel for the try.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yep.
I forgot about the food.
Massive eel, massive. And that's big. That's big in Survivor. Everyone's hungry, so you're just moving up a notch by doing that. Any case, so yeah, she was chucking those sandbags at those big blocks like it was no one's business.
She was throwing. That saying that like you throw like a girl. Well, let's just say the other guys were throwing like boys and they were sucking ass. Because she was killing it. She was absolutely killing it.
Yeah, and she, like you mentioned, she positioned herself very well. She came from a place where she was at the bottom previously with Sandra and Tony, and now she's sitting in the middle where she's a swing vote basically, and she's working the ground, and that is something that I love to see. And I also like to. Or in this episode, Jeremy, he played the game a bit. I saw some of his confessionals and I was quite impressed. A lot more impressed with him than last time we spoke. But in any case, Claudio, another nominee for the Golden Spear from my side has to be Sandra and Sophie.
Sandra and Sophie, or just Sandra? Because you said nominee, so then it's both. Nominees.
Yes, both of them. I think
Sophie.
Yeah, no. Well, Sophie found the idol, and she had the balls not to play the idol at Tribal Council and to save it for later. Sandra, I mean, she had a stealer vote. Once again, didn't play the stealer vote, and they trusted their gut. They went with what are we feeling? What's right? What's going to happen? And they came out on top of it. So I feel like.
Oh, you're talking about Sarah and Sophie.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Did I say Sandra?
Yeah.
Sorry, too many.
Yeah, because I was wondering. Way too many. Triple S threat there.
So yeah. Sarah and Sophie. But I knew I was gonna get confused with all the S's. But in any case, those two from my side. Oh, and Sarah for having traps that I really envy.
No, just touching on that, I think this is what I like about the new survivors. I think traditionally, when there's a shuffle, when there's something that happens, it's like Sandra said. Now we're talking about Sandra, not Sarah, but Sandra in the episode said, when the numbers are in your favor, it's typical. You stick to the numbers and you boot off the guys. So if you find yourself in the unfortunate situation where you don't have the numbers, you tend to go home early. And the new survivor means it doesn't matter where you are in the numbers. There's always hope for you. There's always a chance. At the same time, also do think that the edit didn't show us a lot of things that happened. So I do think the vote was more of a foregone conclusion than what they showed us. So Sarah and Sophie had done the groundwork up front with the other two men, Ben and Adam. So, but yeah, finding the idol and then also having that steal a vote between the two of them makes them a huge power duo in that couple. And what's so interesting is on the previous tribe that they were on, they weren't speaking to each other. They weren't seeing eye to eye. And now all of a sudden it's brought them together, almost like a Parvati and Michelle situation. They were in opposite alliances in the same tribe, and now they're forced to come together and they're making best with what they have. And I think that's fantastic. And that brings me back to another nomination. I mean, there are a lot of people who did a lot of things right this episode, and that is Parvati. Even though Parvati didn't have to do as much, and it's her past reputation that's coming into play, again, which makes this season a lot more textured and more beautiful, is that they do have these past relationships and these past things, but you don't get in other survivors that all play a factor going forward. For example, Yul just liking her because his wife likes Parvati. Nick having the crush on Parvati. So her little finger, there's always room to maneuver something there. She's got guys wrapped around a finger without even having to do a lot of heavy lifting like she normally does.
That's true. I think also, Claudia, I was wondering when Yul said to Parvati, you know, she's one of his wife's favorite players, and Nick admitting, when he mentioned that, I thought to myself, oh, I can just see Claudio going like, oh man, what are you doing? Any case, but in the back of my mind, I was wondering, do they perhaps have a strategic reason for sharing that information? Do they want to put Parvati in a position where she feels a bit more comfortable? Is that the idea, or were they just blurting it out, just sort of like saying it for what it is? And
no, I genuinely think it was that. This is where the game of Survivor gets tricky. Like we know, I think those are general genuine emotions and real relationships coming out there. Even though they know the alliance is 3v2 there, you got the Wendell, Nick, and Yul versus Parvati and Michelle. Those little interactions, those little moments are what go far in the long term of the game. So it's certainly interesting to see how that plays out, but it's really cool to see Yul, for example, have emotion, because we just used to seeing that guy as like a strategic genius, and his mind's always in the game, he never switches off. So that's the only side we normally see with him. And then this whole ALS thing where he mentions Sean Penn and his wife, and that was also a nice touching moment. I mean, this season of Survivor isn't a normal season of Survivor because of the scenario and all these past players. So there's a lot more for these guys to play around with and show us. So it does make it a difficult thing to show the general game.
Yeah, no, admittedly it does, and there's a whole lot of editing that they've got to do and decide what they want to broadcast and what they want to show the viewers. So I do think that is a difficult task that the production team have on their hands. But in any case, Claudio, who do you think out of all 5 nominees that we've discussed now, who do you feel strongest about for awarding the Golden Spear to? Who do you think that did the best thing in this episode? What would you say?
Before we get to the conclusion of that, I think we need to throw another spanner in the works here. Add another 6th nominee that really doesn't get mentioned, is Tyson. The Tyson factor. He gets voted out by Nick in that last episode, and he knows his next idol. So what does he do? He gives him his fire tokens. And being a new school player, firstly, that's the right player to give it to, because immediately it pays off with Nick going, oh, you're well done. Tyson gave me the fire tokens. That means if he does come back into the game, which we know in Exile Island, they're all technically still in the game, maybe we can work together. So I want to give that from a strategic point of view. I want to give kudos to Tyson for thinking that ahead, even though he plays it off very nonchalant, like he doesn't give a damn. But we know what he did there. Very strategic what he's saying, and I want to applaud him for that. Even though he's out of the game, but he's in the game, but he's out in out. Yeah, you know when you the hokey pokey, you put your right arm in, you take your right arm out, and you shake it all apart. Do the Tyson dance, and you'll be okay. It's Tyson. Yeah.
It sort of reminds me of the Inception movie, a dream within a dream within a dream. You know, in which dream are we now? Are we on Extinction Island? Or are we on which island are we on?
Also, talking about that, I found it interesting on the previous episode that they could see Exile Island from where they were on their camp. I thought that was pretty intense. Like talking about Inception, which island are you really on? You're like, oh, you're playing this game, but any second you can be on that island, and that sucks.
And they're standing there looking so lonely on that beach, you know, looking like they're gonna get crucified.
Anyway, okay, back to it. So what are you thinking?
Oh man, it is a difficult one, but I think I'm gonna go with Kim. Kim made the biggest jump for me in this episode, and I'm looking forward to seeing what's gonna happen with her situation. And I feel like she made huge strides in a couple of facets in the game, not just in one. You know, it was in a social sense, in the competitive side, in the challenge, she also did well. So I feel like we should award it to Kim.
Okay, well, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm not necessarily disagreeing with it. However, I think within the context of this particular episode and potential things going forward, I think Sophie is the little champion for a couple of reasons. Like the shared idol that she shared with Sarah and she built that relationship with, and she got it back. She had the nerve to not play the idol. I guess she convinced them not to do it. She also spoke really well at Tribal. She's under the radar. People don't see her as a big threat. She also still has the relationship or past alliance not past, but the other alliance in Wendell, Yule, and Nick. So she still has it on the other island. She strengthened the Sarah. She pretty much got the vote to go the way she wanted in this episode, getting rid of Rob. She said from the beginning of the show, she's like, I don't want to work with that guy. And what happened? The legend got sent home. So I think she's a huge player in this, and not to mention she's really entertaining to watch. And I love what she said about when Jeff asked her, what do you do when you see a crack, you know? And she said specifically, crack implies a negative connotation, and she doesn't see it like that. She sees it as an opportunity for people to work together, and we're not being invasive, because we're not an invasive plant, but we want to work together. So that's how, and I loved how she put that together. And for me, I think going forward right now in her tribe, she's looking good because you got Adam who wants to work with her. You got Ben who wants to work with her. You got Sarah she is the central point within that tribe alone. So Kim, yes, Kim is balanced. She's the swing vote and they want to work with her. But in this episode, Sarah got the vote she wanted. She got the idol and she's got everyone wanting to work with her.
Okay.
That's my thoughts.
Not bad, but I do feel it was her fault that they went to tribal council because she stuffed up the puzzle.
Yeah. So
and it wasn't a tough puzzle, man.
I don't know. Jeez, dude, it took me like while the puzzle's happening, I was like, what the hell kind of puzzle is this? It took me a while to figure it out. But anyway, the point is, it could have been strategic. Yeah. But it could have been strategic on her side because they had a huge lead, and she's not stupid. Let's be honest. So maybe she even threw that challenge without us even knowing. So
I don't know. Okay, if you want to award it to Sophie, you can award.
Okay, that's what we do. We split the golden spear just like the split idol. That's what we do.
Okay. Yes. Good idea.
But whoever says the person louder, like they actually win.
Okay. All right. Go. Kim.
Sophie, you got my vote. Kim, whoever has given you his vote. Well done, guys. Fantastic episode of you.
For getting half a TNO golden spear. I mean, not a lot of people can say that they've got that on their repertoire. Okay, moving along.
Except for Jacques. Let's not forget Jacques from Survivor SA. Jacques, you still our boy, Blue. You are boy.
Jackie, we still love you. Okay, Claudio, wooden spoon. Okay, and shall I just say, you went from Boston Rob to bottom Rob.
Oh, the man lined that one up all week. You wrote that down, didn't you? You weren't working. You're like, I need something. That was good. I liked it. Okay, continue. Yeah? Bottom Rob, I'm with you. Bottom Rob. Yeah.
So the thing is, Rob, he went for his default thing, which is his buddy system, and people read him. They realized Rob is, he's using his buddy system. The buddy system is on steroids. He brought a negative vibe to the camp. I mean, I think he could have applied his mind and used more creative ways to try and swing the vote. The fact that he did that, I think it was a bit predictable, and that allowed the other players the opportunity to really put his head on the block, where they, you know, they act as if they're playing along with his plan, just staying in camp. In the meantime, they're just using it behind his back towards his detriment, voting him off.
Yeah.
So yes, sorry, and
I mean,
I must say, I enjoyed seeing that. Although I like Boston Rob, I like him for a bunch of reasons, but I enjoyed the fact that they went up and sort of like decided to cut the head off of the beast.
I think this was a scenario where Boston Rob was actually out of his depth. And it's so interesting because the previous season 39, the Island of the Idols, he was a mentor. And he comes in here and he kind of forgets who he's playing with. And he mentions it himself, in this episode, where he goes, damn it, these guys are really good at playing this game. He doesn't know how to look for idols. That's not part of his repertoire, So what he did was he failed to adapt in that scenario. He didn't come out with the idol because he didn't know how to look or where to look. It's almost like he hadn't been watching all the other survivors, even though he was on the previous season. Like, that's just not a factor in his game that he was ever going to open up to and try and exploit, rather. And in this scenario, though, he finds himself there and he goes, oh, let me default to what I know. So his ability to fail to adapt, okay, that was huge. And it's almost similar to Sandra in a way where, and I want to mention her for the next one, largely just because she almost slips up and tells people like how the game can be advantageous with the shuffle, and she almost slips up and then she keeps quiet and everyone just looks at her like, as she's saying, it's like, just like, hey, Sandra, by the way, like, how can a shuffle work for you, or a tribe swap? And then she's like, well, Jeff, when the numbers are in your favor, you can, and then everyone just goes, So I think she nearly slipped up there because we didn't see enough of her. We can't give her the wooden spoon. But yeah, Rob's, again, I'm going to mention this. And then he thinks he's got a whole bunch of kids there in Adam. Let's be Adam right here. This bloke doesn't mess around. This bloke is the biggest weasel in Survivor, or him, between him and Ben. They're two big weasels. So zero trust going into it. To think that his plan was going to work was actually, I don't know. He undermined the players he's playing with completely.
Claudia, when I saw this episode, I thought to myself, this could also be titled The Awkward First Date. I mean, there were so many awkward moments in this episode where they all stood around there, the Yara tribe all stood around the water well talking, and then they were like, okay, so, what happened with your last vote out with Ethan? Was it unanimous? And then they were like, Boston Rob was just looking at Adam like this and going like, okay, so how did it went up? I voted for Adam. Adam voted for me, and it was just it was an awkward situation, and like you said, So I think there's some merit in in nominating Adam for Wooden Spoon, definitely.
No. I don't think he deserves a wooden spoon. I was just mentioning him because he was really good. But for something we didn't mention, the Golden Spear thing is exactly to that point when they're discussing about who voted who out, and Mr. Rob over here, I mean, he's very controlling. That's another thing he didn't adapt to. So he couldn't find an idol. He didn't know how to work with that. He has to be in control at all times, and be able to take a back seat in himself is a skill, right? In this game, people don't talk about it. People want to see the big moves, and I think if you're not making the big moves, you're not in the game. But in a scenario like this, taking a back seat for a guy like that would have been hugely important. He's got guys who didn't like none of these. You've got to remember, all these players have won. They all think they're really good in their own right? They're coming in there with that mentality. Plus, the Americans. Americans are highly, highly confident. Okay, so to be telling someone else who already thinks they're wearing the captain's armband to say, "Hey, man, I'm leading you now," then they just got stuff you. They don't want that. They don't want that at all. And I think he failed to adapt from that perspective. But also going back to Sarah, in that scenario, Sarah actually lies and tells with a straight face as well. Because Boston Rob goes, well, whose idea was it to get rid of them? And Sarah says immediately, Sarah's like, it was Tyson. And who, by the way, is Rob going to see at Exile Island?
Yeah, none other.
Tyson. So well done, Sarah. Well done.
That's like, apparently, so some of you who already know me know I'm a lawyer, and one of our lectures in criminal law mentioned that, like, when there's a trial in the like when there's a big trial in the courts, and one of the drug lords are in the trial. Typically, if someone along the sort of like the line, there was someone who passed away or who died, in that court case, everything gets gets put on that guy's plate. Like, he was the guy he was the kingpin who orchestrated everything.
Yeah.
But in any case, I sort of like
the poor guy.
It reminded me of that when Sarah said no, it was Tyson. And how was Tyson voted out? No, unanimous. That was a classic. Any case, but yeah. Also, I think like you said, Sandra is also a nominee for the wooden spoon, where she had to put her foot in her mouth, and then all of a sudden, oh, but Jeff, no, it's cloud 9 on this drive. Everything's going amazing.
Yeah.
In the meantime,
also,
actually, Kim is, I mean, she's in the swing vote. Like we said, we want to award a golden spear or half a golden spear or whatever. But actually, so it's not a great position for her to be in any case. But, I don't want to ramble on about that too much.
But it's okay. But it's an important thing to discuss, because I also think it's one of the reasons why Tyson went home, and it's a scenario as to why Boston Rob went home, and it's something that Sandra's doing now. These old school players had that mentality of going, okay, we know how to play the game, we know what makes sense, and because we're playing with other guys that we think know how to play this game, because they're all winners, they're going to play the way that makes sense. It's logical, right? You got the numbers, you're going to stick with the numbers, because that's how you're going to get further in the game. And the old school players believe that argument, so they don't change, they don't lift up their bum or anything to work a little bit harder. Whereas the new school guys go, we can flip this game on its head, because that's what we're here to do. We don't want to be boring players. We don't want to be in a begonging. We want to be out there. We want to be doing crazy shit that people are going to be enjoying. So I think all three of those players were complacent. I think Sandra, we didn't see enough of this episode, but again, her and Tony's still a bit more agile. But at the same time, they're complacent. And Kim right now, Kim's situation is she's in a good situation, but her next decision is going to be huge. She can't exactly vote for the one, side with Jeremy and Denise. And because also, where does trust get built, Clovis? It gets built at the tribal council where the vote has to be cast. You and I can say as much as we can, but you're only going to trust me when I side with you, right? If I say, yo, Clovis, you and I are friends, but as soon as shit hits the fan, I go run away with Wendell, you're going to be like, hey, piss off, dude. We're not mates.
Yeah.
You know? So that's the thing. So she's in an interesting, whatever line she draws in the stand, she's got to stick to. Kim's
well, it's like you said, Claudio, we haven't seen much of Sandra and Tony in this episode. Unfortunately, not a lot of Tony, because, man, I was missing my Tony humor. You know, I wanted to laugh a bit and so on. But okay, I'm sure we'll see some more of Tony in the episodes to come. But also, just going back to that awkward first date sort of vibe which this episode had to it, it was so funny to see the shelter at Cele, and I thought to myself, is this shelter a metaphor for Michelle and Wendell's relationship now? And she stood there and she's like, oh, it needs a bit of TLC. Sort of like trying to flirt a bit with our man Wendell here, who kicked it any case, and then she couldn't.
But hey, like she said, you up, you know, new survivor, who does, man? Who does? She's not playing no games. She's ready to axe that guy.
Yeah. So, I'm also looking forward to seeing what happens there. And I mean, you know, the game, as it progresses, and you know, things can change depending on who finds idols and stuff. You know, there's a lot of factors which can come into play. So it's not I don't think it's necessarily a foreground conclusion with regards to what's going to happen between the two of them. The relationship Wendell might use his woodworking skills and mend the relationship and use it to his advantage. But so let's see. I think he like Poverty.
Let's wait.
He is a locked vault. So and I think he chose to be a locked vault at the right time, you know, and not to show his cards too soon. But in any case,
I also think it's a bit dangerous, though. It's dangerous because now you've done this thing, you haven't really spoken. Allegedly, the breakup wasn't so good. And now you immediately, not just one, but 2 doors that you've closed, and you haven't closed, you've slammed the 2 doors in their faces. So later, when you might have to like open the door a little bit to allow someone in, they're not going to want to come in. They're going to be like, hey, I remember trying to knock on your door to sell you candy. You wanted none of my candy. So don't, and this isn't a metaphor because they're women, but I suppose it does work. So don't try and come get my candy lady, later. So it's like, who brought all the boys to the poverty did. Yeah. Anyway, so moving on. I think it's pretty unanimous in terms of who's going to get the wooden spoon, right?
Yep. No, I think it is our headmaster or what teacher there at the back. There. Wait.
Yeah,
where is he?
over here. There. The daddy daycare. He tried to have the daycare, but you know what happened in daddy daycare? The kids actually ruled the roost. So Adam, good job with Sophie and Sarah and also Ben. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not his biggest fan, but he's interesting to watch. But anyway, are you ready?
Whoop.
3, 2,
Whoop.
Yeah, Boston Rob, you get our wooden spoon. Moving along now to Storms Are Brewing. What can we expect next episode, Clovis?
Sure. Okay. So next episode, all I can say is, well, once again, looking forward to it immensely. But I want to see the call go to Tribal Council, and I want to see how that plays out. Claudia, I'm on the edge of my seat for it. I want to see if Kim is really going to utilize her position like she said, and if she's going to capitalize on the groundwork that she's been doing. So really excited to watch that. And then how the Yara tribes dynamics going to progress from here. Is it going to be like even on Earth now that that Boston Rob is gone? Are they going to work together well and win the next tribal challenge so that they don't have to go to Tribal Council? So I'm just curious to see how things are playing out. Oh, and just one thing more that I wanted to mention. Claudio, what is your stance or what is your opinion of the immunity idol? I must admit, that is the ugliest immunity idol I've ever seen in my life. That thing is hideous.
I will say when, and it's not because we're South African, but I will say when you look at the props and you look at those sort of things, I think that's where the South African survivor really go balls to the walls and do really well. Because I do think the immunity idols and things like that, and the American survivor and an Australian survivor are like an afterthought. So I agree with you. It's not the best looking thing.
But what I must say, what I must admit is what is freaking cool is that the pen that they used to vote with, I don't know if you've noticed, but it's actually it's a dagger. The pen is receded or within a dagger. So you're literally like writing with the thing which you're using to stab someone in the back. But
that's a good touch. That's a good touch, guys.
Any case, Storm is brewing from your side. Are you looking forward to what's happening in this situation here, this soccer kicking game here behind me?
No, I think we've seen all that's going to happen out of that. So I think you can't dedicate another episode to the X on the beach sort of thing. But I do think I'm pretty excited to see what's going to happen with the Tyson and Rob situation when they encounter each other. But that's also what is really good about this episode was there was no Exile Island, which is pretty cool. I really enjoyed that. But it's going to be cool to see how Boston Rob confronts Tyson. It looks like he causes a little bit of mayhem as well, tries to trick him, which we know that guy's one sly guy. So it's going to be interesting. As for the challenges and who I expect to possibly go to Tribal Council, if I'm looking at the team with Sarah and Sophie and Adam and Ben, I think that's quite a good team of 4. Physical enough to get through any challenge and smart enough to get through any challenge. I don't see Wendell, Yule, Nick, Michelle, Poverty going to the immunity. I think those guys are well positioned again physically and strategically to win any challenge. The Sandra team is the one I do have concerns for, but at the same time, if they have to sit someone out, it's probably going to be Sandra. So then you got Tony, Kim, Jeremy, and Denise. So to predict one of these teams is going to be pretty tough. But I do agree with you. It's going to be interesting to see Sandra's tribe lose and possibly see Sandra. If they do lose, I'm thinking. Oh, I was going to say Sandra's going to go home, but I think Sandra's got the potential to go home with the idol in her pocket. If Kim Spradlin plays it really well, and that would be a hell of a scalp to collect.
Yes, I think Kim must just really play it cool and not let Sandra get suspicious at all. Then she would be in a good position to get rid of her. And I think it would be a good idea to get rid of Sandra. Not because I'm not saying that because I don't like her. I'm saying that because she's a massive threat. And from my side, I would definitely make it a priority to get rid of the threats. Like we've said previously, it would be a smart move to get rid of the threats as soon as possible. Any case,
but at the same time, everyone's a threat. So I don't buy into that. Let's get rid of the threats. If anything, it's the old school players here that are getting voted out, but they're the ones that are playing the weakest games at the moment. So the threats are actually the ones that you are quite unassuming. But I reckon if I've got to be supporting someone right now, I think there are a couple of people that are really well positioned. And again, I'm going to go with Sophie. She's in a good spot. I'm going to go with Jeremy. He's someone else I'm backing. I want to say Poverty, but at the same time, her threat level, exactly what you said, at an old school threat level, her reputation precedes itself. And I don't think she's going to get a chance to actually do the things that she needs to, even though she's really well positioned right now. I think once the merge happens, she's one of the first to go.
I think the thing is, Claudio, what we shouldn't lose account of is the fact that she got granted a fire token this episode, which she's going to receive in the next episode. And we haven't...
Oh, she didn't just get a fire token. She got 2 from Boston Rob. Remember, because Boston Rob had Ambers.
Oh, yes. Oh, man. And
she's actually a millionaire. What am I saying? She's a millionaire on Survivor right now.
But now, remember, we haven't seen people being presented with an opportunity, or I mean, once maybe, but not a lot of situations arose where they had the opportunity to utilize those fire tokens. And I do think they are worth a lot. So she might be in a very good position actually, and be able to do a lot of damage with those. In any case,
but that's also the other thing. No, but that's the other thing that we're not taking into account. We've got Sarah, who's got the Steeler vote. We've got Sophie, who's got an idol. We've got Sandra, who's got an idol. We've got all these friggin' fire tokens running around. We still don't know how they're going to be implemented. So at some stage, like Sarah said, let me keep the Steeler vote for when shit's really going to hit the fan, because the chaos is coming. And it's just how they're going to, whoever's going to be best at maneuvering the chaos or through the chaos is the one that's probably going to survive.
Exactly. So, I think this is a season where you really have to invest in the sense of, if you have something, don't spend it immediately. You retain it for future use, to as far as you can, as far as the game allows you. Any case, Claudio, just one closing remark, which I wanted to know is, what would you do typically after a tribe switch if you're in one of two positions? First position is you're already in a tight alliance, all right? And now there are you're on a new tribe, okay? But you have the numbers on that tribe. What would you do? Would you go out and still work the ground, or are you just gonna make sure your alliance you stick with them and the relationships remain tight? What would be your thoughts?
Me personally, I think doing what a Wendell has done is very tricky. I think sticking to your alliance and being very solid in itself is great. It's a great thing it's a safer place to be, right? If anything happens, you can always rely on them because you said you were going to. And that's technically how you won his season, Wendell. But for me personally, I've always, and it's what I do in life, is I'm always open to any conversation. You'd have to, in this scenario, be a lot more discreet in terms of going about it. You wouldn't be able to be like, hey, I'm in alliance with, say, Boston Rob and Adam, but and have the conversation with the so-called enemy in front of everyone else. But you would drop certain things, and I wouldn't be as overt as saying, like, listen, I'm in alliance with these guys, but I'm still opening my door to play with you. I wouldn't do that per se. What I would do is be like, you guys know where I stand, but I'll still build a relationship with them in terms of cracking jokes, getting to know them. Because if something does happen, out of the 3, whatever numbers, they're going to be, if they want to do something, they're going to come to you with your plan. And if they come to you with their plan, you've got a perfect, almost like a Kim Spradlin, you've got a perfect scenario where you can decide what it is that you want to do. Do you want to stay loyal to your 3 or to your 2, or do you want to go with the new guys that are really desperate, who really, really need you? At the end of the day, after that vote is made or cast, then you've built that trust and you've established that relationship with whoever you want to go forward. Burning bridges is always a dangerous thing, but at the same time, in Modern Survivor, I think you can get away with it because people tend to respect the bigger moves than just playing it safe.
Okay.
Did you get what I said? Did you get what I said?
Good answer. So you basically said you're going to play both sides.
Discreetly. So I'll stick to my core. I'm a loyal guy. 100%. You're going to know on which side of the fence I'm standing, but I'm going to be talking to people through that fence and they're going to be able to see me. And when they're hungry, I'm going to be sticking my hand through the fence and feeding them.
Just feeding them a breadcrumb or two. No, I just think it's wise not to exclude yourself completely, although you might feel safe within your alliance. I agree with you with what you said, is to sort of like have a little bit of a backup plan, not like put all of a sudden, put in a whole lot of effort with a new relationship. Like maintain your good vibes with your alliance, but also like be open to a couple of new conversations, just so that you don't find yourself in a position where you are surprised.
Well, also at the same time, I mean, in this scenario, Boston Rob had the numbers. His way of playing was telling the other guys, don't talk to other people. The other people had already spoken to them. You know what I mean? So Ben and Adam had already spoken to them. And because he had played that mentality, naturally, Kobus, if you don't want to talk to me and we're in a room together and there's literally only 2 of us or 3 of us and you're telling someone else to not talk to me, what's my natural instinct going to be? Not to like you. So if I have to vote someone down, even if I'm at the bottom, whose name am I going to throw out first? It's going to be yours. It's not going to be anyone else's, but yours, So it's not a smart way to go about things. And also, we all live together, right? So I don't necessarily have to like you, but if I crack a funny joke, if you like something about me, you might want to work with me rather than not.
100%. Claudio, I think that is it from our side from TNO for this week. Any closing remarks, or shall we end it off?
Yeah, no, if you want to say some closing remarks, go ahead and then I'll follow. You go, man. You go. You do your thing.
Okay, no, so from my side, I think I've said all that I can and wanted to about this episode. Really looking forward to with what's going to happen here. I think it's going to be entertaining. And yeah, from my side, I'm looking forward to chatting to you about next week's episode.
Awesome. That's great. I'm also excited about that. And I also want to say, guys, if you want to follow me on Twitter or follow Kobus, I do have Twitter. I do have Instagram. My handle is 3arero. Also, please, with this whole coronavirus, it is a serious thing. Let's take it a bit more seriously than what we are taking it. I know in South Africa, we're taking the piss a little bit. You and I are perfect doing this because we're both in isolation at this moment in time. So we are quarantining ourselves while we are shooting this. So that's good. So please do that. Don't forget to wash your hands. And also, my girlfriend, Christy Jade Cunningham, is running for an association called Mad to Run, where they run from Johannesburg to Cape Town, all to raise money for kids to help them with their education. The link is at the bottom. So if you guys want to get in touch and you guys want to donate, please go ahead and do that. We'd really appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Doing things for the cause. I like it. Okay, Claudio, I'll see you next week. Yeah, like you said, people wash your hands. Stay safe. Cheers.
It's not a laughing matter. It's not a laughing matter, Kobus.
I'm sorry. Cheers.
Cheers.